we have with us our next speaker, who's a consultant cataract and anterior segment from Medicine Clinic, Ghaziabad, Dr. Shruti Mahajan. And she's actually going to show us something really wonderful. And I'm again very sure we don't have much to discuss after that. On to you, Shruti.
Thank you, Dr. Chitra, ma'am. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Thank you. So I'll just proceed with the video.
Every challenging case of posterior polar cataract that presents with a pre-existing posterior capsule rupture requires working through a customized surgical approach to achieve a befitting outcome. Such cases can present early or late, with or without nuclear sclerosis. This video is a step-by-step approach for manual phacoemulsification in these. Common surgical steps include a primary incision given around 90 degrees to the PCR axis for preventing stress on the tear. Special emphasis is on making a calibrated side port incision as well to prevent shallowing of the anterior chamber. Following this, an oval rhexis is fashioned with longer arm around 90 degrees to the axis of the PCR. The large rhexis arm prevents capsular bag turbulence, allows easy nuclear sculpting and division, and trouble-free subincisional cortex removal. The short rhexis arm helps in keeping nuclear mass in bag and helps in IOL capture without a tilt. The variation comes while performing hydro procedures. In soft cataract, no hydrodissection is attempted, rather a layer-by-layer hydrodelineation is done. However, in the presence of nuclear sclerosis, hydro procedures are best avoided. In a case with no nuclear sclerosis, layer-by-layer hydrodelineation, simulating flax by injecting the BSS at different planes allows gentle separation of nuclear epinuclear layers. Inadvertent hydrodissection should be prevented to avoid extension of PCR. The second variation from the cases with nuclear sclerosis is in doing multiple layer phacoaspiration. This is commenced at safe phacoemulsification parameters. At no point the capsular bag is overinflated. Phacotip is realigned towards the bulk of the nucleus layer. The nucleus is not rotated. With the aid of the chopper, outer nuclear layer is gingerly dislodged from the subincisional capsular bag. While the layers are being aspirated, the outer corticoepinuclear layer provides a shield to the PC. As only phacoaspiration can be done in these cases, phaco power remains unused throughout the procedure. However, when there is coexisting nuclear sclerosis, no hydro procedures are performed. A modified stop and chop technique is followed. A long, deep trenching with the phacotip is culminated with a gentle through and through separation of the nucleus into two hemispheres without putting stress on the PC. Cross-chopping of the nuclear pieces is attempted on either side and emulsified. No rotation of the nuclear pieces is done to prevent increase in the size of PCR and inadvertent nucleus drop. To allow anterior chamber stability, slow motion phacoemulsification of the remaining nuclear fragments is done. At this stage, one should look for signs of disruption of vitreous or hyaloid interface, such as peaking of the pupil or vitreous in anterior chamber. In a scenario with vitreous prolapse, the case should be converted into an extracapsular procedure without a dilemma. Since in both these cases, hyaloid face was intact, cases were continued. Repetitive OVD inflation prevents forward bag movement and PCR extension. Remaining cortex can be aspirated with a coaxial IA or a bimanual IA when the epinucleus is still plugging the PCR. Alternatively, dry aspiration of the cortex is recommended. Vitreous hydration and prolapse is prevented by two steps. First, high sleeve retraction of coaxial IA is done. This separates the level of irrigation and aspiration, simulating a bimanual IA. Second, anterior cortical lamellae are stripped off from the overlying capsule without aspirating the epinucleus. This epinucleus helps in shielding the capsular defect from the irrigating coaxial tip. Once fully separated, it is aspirated swiftly. Capsular bag collapse is recurrently prevented by adequate bag inflation with OVD. From the calibrated side port incision, the edge of the PC tear is converted into a posterior rexus. After aligning the flap of the tear, it is carefully fashioned into a rexus. Triamcinolone is used to ascertain the absence of vitreous from the anterior chamber. A multi-piece IOL is implanted in the sulcus. The smaller arm of the oval rexus is used to facilitate optic capture from the calibrated side port incision. With a tailored approach in a posterior polar cataract with pre-existing PCR, we can maximize the outcomes by minimizing the complexities. Manual phacoemulsification, if carried out safely, can obviate the need of femtosecond laser in such cases.
Thank
That
you
was
very
a wonderful presentation and covered it all. And just for the sake of completion, I think I would be asking one or questions. Dr. Ramamurthy, what would you consider the ideal ways to, when there is a PCR, how do best to deal with the epinucleus? Would you do anything different from what she did?
Oh,
Would
she
you-
did everything beautifully and such nice videos.
Yes.
Excellent teaching. Obviously, in this kind of a situation, as most of the people in the panel will agree, an availability of a femtosecond laser platform is a great tool. And also a preoperative OCT, whether it's on the femtolaser platform or done as an anterior segment OCT preoperatively, also helps. And to your specific question regarding the
Removal of epinucleus.
epinucleus, once the even half the heminucleus is removed and the capsular bag is under no stress, then you can go ahead and do a viscodissection or a hydrodissection to mobilize the epinucleus and cortex and remove it more easily. And just a couple of other points I might have done a little differently is usually whenever I had a rent in a PPC, it's extending from one end to the other. And there's really no need to round off these rexes because you are going to anyway place the rexes. You have made such a beautiful rexes, and it was optic capture was to be done with the placement of the lens in the sulcus. So that step may be avoided because it definitely requires a lot of skill. And second thing is when I'm not suspecting that vitreous is already in the AC, I'd go ahead and place the intraocular lens. And then, of course, inject, because that itself acts as a tamponade for the vitreous. And then inject Triamcinolone as you rightly did and make sure there's no tags there. Because with an open posterior capsule, I'd like to minimize my the kind of maneuvers that I do. Rather, the intraocular lens, I might even inject it a little earlier because that itself acts as a tamponade, and even the cortex and the epinucleus to an extent can be removed after implanting the intraocular lens.
I think
Otherwise,
that would have become a
beautiful.
challenge because no hydro and putting a lens and removing the cortex. But yes, viscodissection and a 360-degree cortical stripping so that the center is the last to be removed. The one important thing, Dr. Dhami, your part of the country believes so strongly in the oval rexus. Is it just one other way, or do you truly believe that it makes the surgery a lot more less turbulent?
Yes, it's just not the other way. It does make the surgery very comfortable, especially in posterior polar cataracts, hard brown cataracts, wherever your movements are going to be in the direction of the oval rexus. You're moving in the right way. Like in a very brown hard cataract, your phacoprobe is going beyond where you want to go. The margins of the rexus are very much safe, and rexus tear is just not possible. It's, I think, a way to do, and Kiranjit has given a good thing, having published a lot of papers on it.
Dr. Gaurav, I wanted to ask, like supposing there's a PCR and you had a premium IOL patient. So what would you do? What are the other ways with which you could implant the IOL? More for the attendees to know. I'm sure the speakers here would all, the young
I
attendees.
think if I have to implant it in the bag, because then, if it's a premium IOL, it's likely to be a single piece lens and I'll have to implant it in the bag. Then I would definitely want a primary posterior capsulotomy to be complete, like a continuous curvilinear posterior rhexis, which is very, very difficult sometimes to get in a posterior polar cataract, especially with a pre-existing, because it's very friable and it tends to, as Dr. Ramamurthy said, it tends to go end to end. It's very difficult to actually fashion a rhexis, but if I was able to do that, I would probably get a rhexis which was smaller than the anterior rhexis, if possible, and then place the premium IOL in the bag. Maybe if it's a multifocal IOL or a toric IOL, but that would strictly depend upon the integrity of the rhexis of the posterior capsule. Otherwise, I would not attempt it, or otherwise I would attempt some kind of an optic capture, because then, of course, ensuring that my haptics remain behind the anterior capsule. If it's a single piece lens, I will never want to have the haptics, because they're really thick and they are the ones which cause the iritis and the inflammation and touch of the iris. So it's a catch-22. It has to be decided on the table from in a patient where you can manage it, you will probably want to manage it. But if you can't manage to get your single piece lens inside the bag, you should not be placing it for sure. Definitely not in sulcus.
Don't you think that we should have a battery of 3-piece multifocal IOLs with us?
Absolutely.
When we have a polar cataract?
Absolutely. 3-piece multifocals and 3-piece toric lenses, maybe,
Toric lenses.
which can be positioned, would be ideal. Yeah.
So where do you get them from, Gaurav?
In India, they're not supplying, sir. Actually, with your influence, we may be able to get them, but in the US, they are.
You don't get you don't get toric in 3-piece, and you don't get
Toric, you don't get multifocal, you can get.
3-piece in the US is available. The
Toric
Technist multifocal bifocal is available in the US in 3-piece platform.
No, toric, I'm saying I have never heard a 3-piece.
Toric, no. Toric is not. I'm just joking. I mean, that's wishful thinking.
Yeah.
3-piece Technis multifocal is available. We have a stock of them and we do use them. But
You
3-piece
use them,
torics, I don't think are available.
Yeah, they are
No, that's
very
a-
rare. Ram, they don't have it. Once I got stuck, and I don't know from where they had to get it after a week. Typically, they aren't selling it anymore, because that was only the Technis bifocal that was there.
You
And,
ask Maipal, they'll give you. They won't sell, they'll give
Yeah, I
you.
know. I asked and I got it after a week.
Anything else to be discussed before we go on, because a very important point.
Can I take?
Yes, yes, Dr. Rajendra Prasad.
Yeah.
Yes.
These pre-existing tear, where you have already pre-existing tear with the posterior polar cataract, actually you don't have to do much, because the pre-existing tear generally have a very tough edge. They don't extend to the periphery. So ideally, if you have a pre-existing tear, you just need to do a technique called as the epinuclear tamponade technique. Like you take out that epinucleus which is on the tear at the last. So when you take it out, you have to take it carefully, and generally vitreous face is also fibrosed, and the tear end is also fibrosed. You don't have to do the posterior capsular or rhexis or so. So you just take it out and go ahead with the capsular bag implantation of the eye. It becomes very easy in these cases.
I completely endorse what RP said, because whenever I found that it's usually a slit-like tear extending from one end to another, and it doesn't have any way to extend, because it's not going to extend beyond, and neither is it going to run sideways. So really not necessary to make a circular rhexis or anything. As far as either you do an anterior vitrectomy if it's necessary, otherwise go ahead, and those leaflets are good enough to support your intraocular lens also. Unless it's a toric intraocular lenses, which has to be oriented in the direction of the runoff.
Yes, very good. So I think we shall go on to our next speaker. Again, a wonderful video, Dr. Shruti. Do stay